Same speech. Ethan and his fiancée want the wedding to be adults only, Claire. It's not personal. Not personal. It felt intimate. How could it not be personal if it occurred twice? I tried not to cry this time. I was older and wanted to appear more mature. I did not beg or shout. I simply sat quietly as my parents made their excuses. My mother even attempted to soothe me. You'll have your own wedding someday, and it'll be wonderful. You'll see. But it didn't help me feel better. I was beginning to realize something. My siblings did not consider me as family, at least not in the same sense that I saw them. By the time Brooke got engaged, I was 15. I was a full-fledged teen who wanted nothing more than to feel included. Brooke initially had no intention of prohibiting children from attending her wedding. She wanted everyone to attend. Of course, the family had to be involved. My aunts and uncles repeatedly said stuff like, "It's so refreshing to have a wedding without kids running wild," she said. "Children just make things so chaotic." Brooke eventually caved. The regulation became, no one under the age of 16. I was 15, so close that it felt like a slap in the face. I walked to Brooke and asked, "Can I just be an exception? I'm your sister. I'll be quiet, I promise." Brooke stared at me with serious eyes and said, "If I make an exception for you, what about the other kids?" It wouldn't be fair. Fair? Are you kidding me? I lost it. I began to scream. "It's not fair that I can't go to any of your weddings. I'm not just some kid, I'm your sister." That was when my folks became involved. I was grounded for 6 months because I disrespected Brooke and caused trouble. 6 months. I spent the majority of that time in my room, stewing in my rage and hurt. When Josh got engaged, I was 17, and I didn't even bother asking. I already knew I would not be invited. Sure enough, the announcement arrived, a childless wedding. At that point, I had become numb to it. I did not cry, yell, or ask why. I just accepted it. What wounded me the most was that my cousin Amanda, who had just turned 18, had been invited. I learned about it through family gossip. Apparently, they believed 18 was the cutoff. The irony was not lost on me. Amanda was just a few months older than me, but she was able to go since she had reached the magical age of adulthood. When my parents inquired why I hadn't made a big fuss about congratulating Josh, I simply shrugged. I wrote him a brief text. "Congrats. Hope it's a great day." Then I shut myself in my room as I always do. By that point I had begun to withdraw emotionally. I knew I simply didn't matter to them. I was not their little sister. I was just a kid and it stung. It truly ached. Years have passed. After the last wedding, I stopped trying to fit into my siblings' life because frankly I was exhausted. I'm tired of being left out. I was tired of being the kid's sister who no one cared about except when it was convenient for them. By the time I met my now fiancé, Noah, I had very much given up on the family dynamic. I wasn't expecting much from anyone anymore. Noah was the first person who listened when I told him about my family. I recall sitting on his couch and telling him how I'd been barred from 4 of my siblings' weddings, and he appeared really surprised. "Wait, they didn't invite you? Not even when you were like 15? "Nope," I answered, trying to act like it didn't hurt anymore. "What the hell? You're their sister," remarked the man. He sat there for a minute, shaking his head before saying, "That's seriously messed up." That's when I understood things were really messed up. I had spent years convincing myself that it was normal. Child-free wedding seems logical on paper. It wasn't like I was intentionally targeted, right? But no, 4 times, my family chose to exclude me. Not one sibling thought, "Hey, Claire should be there." It was not typical. So when Noah and I got engaged a few years later, I knew one thing for sure. My wedding would be different. My wedding was going to be filled with individuals who genuinely cared about me, people who wanted to celebrate me rather than simply showing up because it was required of them. That's when I made my decision. I wouldn't invite my siblings. It wasn't a huge dramatic moment. I did not send an angry letter or publicize it in the family group chat. I simply left them off the guest list. Simple as that. I knew it was going to blow up someday, but I decided to deal with it when it happened. The first indicator of problems occurred around 2 months before the wedding. My mother contacted me randomly one afternoon, acting strangely upbeat. I should have known something was up. "So Claire," she asked in that voice she used when she wanted something, "how are the wedding plans coming along?" "Good," I replied warily. "Everything's almost done." "That's great," she remarked, stopping for a while before adding, "Your brothers and sisters haven't received their invitations yet. Did you send them out already?" My heart began thumping. I did not want to have this conversation. Not yet. "Yeah, I sent them out," I replied, attempting to sound nonchalant. She did not miss a beat. "Well, they didn't get one. Maybe it got lost in the mail?" I exhaled. "Mom, I didn't invite them." The other end of the connection was silent, with a heavy, stunned pause. Then followed the blast. "What, Claire? How could you not invite your own family, your siblings? What's wrong with you?" I gripped the phone and tried to remain calm. "They didn't invite me to their weddings, Mom. Not a single one of them. So I'm returning the favor. It's fair." She spoke as if I had just committed a crime. "That was different. You were young. They didn't mean to hurt you." I laughed bitterly. "Well, it hurts anyway. And now I'm done pretending like it didn't." She started the guilt trip right away. "Claire, you're being spiteful. Family is family. You don't just shut them out like this. What are people going to think?" And there it was. What would people think? My mother's favorite concern. I cut her off before she could say anything further. "I don't care what people think, Mom. This is my wedding, and I'm only inviting people who care about me. They didn't care enough to include me in their big days, so I don't see why they deserve to be at mine." She hung up on me. I was not surprised. That night, the group chat exploded. Brooke began by acting false, like she always does. "Hey Em, did something happen with the mail? We haven't gotten our invites yet." Then came Ethan, as blunt as ever. "What's going on? Why aren't we invited?" I stared at my phone for a long time, considering whether to respond. Part of me wanted to tell them exactly how much they had wounded me over the years. But another part of me couldn't see the point. They would not get it. They never had. So I said nothing. I just left the chat on read. Noah noticed I was silent throughout supper and inquired what was wrong. I showed him the messages, and he just shook his head. "You don't owe them an explanation, Em. They made their choices." "Yeah, but," I trailed off. "They're going to make me out to be the bad guy. I know it." "Let them," he stated firmly. "You know the truth. That's all that matters." The next day, my parents unexpectedly arrived at my residence. I didn't even need to inquire what they were there for. My mother stormed in as soon as I opened the door. "What are you thinking, Claire? Not inviting your own siblings to your wedding? What kind of person does that?" I attempted to remain calm, even though my patience was running out. "Mom, I told you. They didn't think I was important enough to include in their weddings, so I'm not including them in mine." My father finally spoke up, his voice severe. "You're being childish, Claire. You're holding on to something that happened years ago." That was when I snapped. "I was a child when they did it, Dad. I begged to be at their weddings and they all shut me out. Don't talk to me about being childish when I was the one left crying at home. 4 times." They didn't know how to respond. My mother looked like she was going to cry, but I refused to let her guilt me this time. "You can keep defending them if you want, but I'm not changing my mind. If they cared about me, they would have shown it back then." They left, enraged and frustrated. Over the next few days, my siblings' text became increasingly unpleasant. Ethan called me selfish. Brooke claimed I was wrecking the family. Josh didn't even bother to sugarcoat it. "You're being petty, Claire. Grow up." I did not respond to any of them. I didn't have to justify myself anymore. Noah held me one night as I scrolled through their texts, saying, "I'm proud of you, you know, for standing up for yourself." And for the first time, I was proud of myself. After the initial round of family drama, I expected things to settle down. I expected them to moan to each other for a time, perhaps complain to some distant cousins, and then move on. That was how it generally went when my family didn't get their way. but I underestimated how big a deal